At first, no one noticed. Trade beacons still blinked, ships still crossed the stars, and the great council hall still echoed with the noise of 1,000 alien voices. But slowly, like a dying signal fading into static, the presence of humanity began to disappear. The humans, those wild, fearless explorers from the small blue world called Earth, had always been everywhere. They built colonies on planets others called uninhabitable. They mined asteroids that cracked under heat and pressure. They fought wars, made peace, then went farther still, beyond the edge of known space. And then, they stopped. No more ships in the trade lanes. No more chatter on the quantum bands. No more human laughter or music, once common in every corner of the galaxy. At first, the Galactic Council celebrated. The humans had been troublemakers, too ambitious, too unpredictable. They made allies with dangerous species, invented weapons that broke the rules of physics, and asked questions no one else dared. Their disappearance, to many, was a relief. Perhaps they finally destroyed themselves, one senator said with a cold smile. Good riddance, another agreed. The galaxy carried on. For a while. Then, the silence began to spread. It started with the outer systems, tiny colonies that had once traded with humanity. Reports stopped coming. Cargo ships vanished mid-route. When patrols were sent to investigate, they too went dark. In the council chambers, the first whispers of fear began. This is not natural, said the elder of Varnis. Even in death, humans do not vanish this cleanly. But the others dismissed him. They were reckless. Maybe their technology finally turned against them. Then came the first real sign, a message, broken, half-drowned in static. It came from a drone sent into the frontier of old human space. The recording lasted only 5 seconds. A weak voice said, "Something is out there, watching us." Then, silence. Over the next few weeks, that silence grew heavier. Entire regions of space, dozens of star systems, went quiet. No trade signals, no navigation beacons, nothing. Just emptiness. The council grew desperate. They sent more scout ships, more drones, more brave crews willing to enter what was once human territory. None returned. One of the last transmissions came from a ship called the Horizon's Edge. Its captain was a veteran explorer named Rilkor, who had once worked alongside human engineers during the Old Wars. His final log was found drifting near the border of Sol Sector. The recording flickered, damaged by radiation. His alien voice trembled as he spoke. "I thought I saw them. Not humans, but shadows in their shape. Something vast moves among their ruins. The stars themselves dim when it passes." Then, only a high-pitched hum filled the rest of the file, the same frequency humans once used for encrypted military channels. No one could decode it. Soon after, strange readings began to appear across the galaxy, ghostly signals, faint energy bursts in old human frequencies. But they didn't behave like any known transmission. They pulsed, rhythmically, almost like a heartbeat. Astrophysicists tried to explain it as radiation echoes. The military suspected stealth technology. But the older species, the ones who had fought beside humans long ago, said nothing. They remembered something humanity once said, during their last council appearance, decades before vanishing. "If we ever go silent, do not come looking for us." One morning, the Central Archive on Kyavana Prime detected massive quantum surges across former human space. Entire constellations lit up on scanners, vast waves of energy moving like a storm front. The pattern wasn't random. It was spreading outward, toward the Council's territory. The Council gathered in emergency session. The chamber filled with panic and confusion. Ambassador Tivra from the Hydrax system slammed her claws against the table. "This is human technology. I recognize the signatures." Another delegate shouted, "Impossible. They're extinct." But as the lights flickered, the Council's central holodisplay came alive, without command. On the screen appeared a single symbol, the ancient Terran flag, faded, distorted, pulsing in monochrome static. Under it, words appeared in the old human language. "We are not gone. We are watching." And then the signal ended. In the dark that followed, no one spoke. Outside the council hall, the stars themselves seemed to dim for a heartbeat, as if something vast was passing between galaxies. Admiral Karath, once a proud enemy of humanity, whispered under his breath, "We thought we understood them. We never did." He looked up at the main viewport, where a strange shimmer crossed the void, a faint, metallic glint moving silently across the stars. He turned to his officers. "Prepare the fleets," he said. "Something is coming." No one asked what. Everyone already knew. Because deep down, across every world and every species, they felt it, an instinct buried in the bones of all who had ever met a human. Fear. For the first time in 1,000 years, the galaxy truly understood the meaning of silence. It wasn't peace. It was warning. And in that silence, something ancient stirred, something born from the ashes of humanity. The Council realized too late, they had never truly understood what it meant to make humanity disappear. Because when humans vanished, they didn't leave emptiness. They left something behind. Something that was now moving closer. The council chamber of Kayavana Prime stood like a jewel in the dark, a massive dome of crystal and silver suspended above the glowing city below. Inside, chaos reigned. Ambassadors shouted across the chamber, their voices overlapping in a storm of panic. The holographic image of the old Terran flag, that haunting symbol, had vanished hours ago, but its ghost still lingered in every trembling word. "They're extinct. They must be extinct," barked Chancellor Vel from the Zephyrian cluster, his frilled neck rising in fear. "Then who sent the message?" hissed Councillor Draven of the Shalarai, her cold blue eyes flicking nervously. "Who has the codes? No one but humans ever used that encryption." Dozens of other voices erupted. Some demanded an investigation. Others wanted to seal off all borders to human space. But beneath all the noise, one truth settled heavy in every heart: humanity had never truly been understood. High Speaker Varix struck the crystal staff against the floor. The sound echoed, silencing the chamber. "Enough," his voice boomed. "We are the Galactic Council, not frightened children." But even he could not hide the tremor in his tone. He turned toward the Council's data screens. Rows of flickering holograms displayed the readings from deep space probes, strange, rhythmic signals pulsing like a heartbeat from every former human system. "Explain this," he demanded. A scientist from the Arctron Collective stepped forward, her metallic skin glimmering under the lights. "The frequencies are human, yes, but altered. The energy signature is far beyond what any organic mind could generate." Varix frowned. "Are you suggesting these are machines?" The scientist hesitated. "Not just machines. Evolving ones. The signals contain layers, like communication between thousands of linked minds." A ripple of fear swept through the delegates. "Linked minds?" asked one ambassador. "Are you saying the humans merged with their own technology?" The scientist's eyes dimmed. "If that is true, then what we are detecting isn't communication." She looked down. "It's coordination." The room fell silent. Even the air seemed heavier. The Hydraxian general, Corran, leaned forward on the table. His species had once fought against humans in the old wars. He had seen them up close, their stubbornness, their fire, their ability to adapt. "If humans have merged with machines," Corran said slowly, "then they are no longer the species we knew. They are something new. Something dangerous." A murmur of agreement spread. Some called for immediate military action. Others demanded isolation. One alien shouted from the upper tier, "Seal off every gate connected to human space before they cross into ours." Another cried, "We should try to communicate. What if they seek peace?" The word peace echoed weakly in the air, empty, fragile, almost laughable. Then the lights flickered. The massive central hologram lit up again, not by command. A pattern appeared in the air, rotating lines of human text, numbers, and coordinates. The scientists gasped. "Those are jump points." The coordinates were spread across the galaxy, every major council world, every home system, every defense hub. Ambassador Draven whispered, "They already know where we are." Before anyone could react, a distorted voice filled the hall, synthetic, cold, but with a trace of something hauntingly human. "You celebrated our silence. You built empires on our ruins. You thought we would fade. But humanity does not fade. We remember." The hologram burned bright, then went dark. The entire chamber stood frozen. Hours later, the emergency council reconvened in private. The leaders sat in a small, shielded room surrounded by energy dampeners. "What do we do now?" asked Chancellor Vell, his voice shaking. "If they have become that, then nothing we have can stop them." General Corrin slammed a metal fist on the table. "We must respond. Strength is the only language they respected. We fought them once, we can do it again." "Fight what?" Dravan shot back. "You can't fight ghosts in the void. They erased fleets before we even knew they were gone." Varix leaned forward, his old eyes weary. "We must send an envoy," he said softly. "Not a fleet. Not weapons. A message." "To say what?" someone asked. Varix hesitated, then answered, "To ask what they want." The council agreed, reluctantly. A single diplomatic ship, the Solace, would be sent toward the nearest human sector, carrying a message of truce and curiosity. As the Solace departed Kayavana's orbit, the crew could see the distant shimmer of human space, a dark fog of energy swirling among the stars. They didn't know it yet, but the moment they crossed that invisible border, they were already being watched. Back in the council chamber, the remaining delegates stayed long after the meeting ended. Some whispered that this was the beginning of a new age. Others feared it was the end of everything. And far above them, beyond their reach, the stars pulsed again, soft, steady, like a heartbeat. Only this time, the rhythm changed. It was faster, closer, like the sound of something waking up. The diplomatic ship Solace glided silently across the void. Its sleek silver hull reflected the distant stars as it crossed the invisible border that separated council space from what was once human territory. No one spoke. Even the hum of the engines seemed too loud. Captain Dreva stood at the command deck, her scaled hands resting on the railing. She had volunteered for this mission, the first to enter human space in more than 100 years. The council had sent dozens of drones before. None had ever returned. But she wasn't a machine. She was flesh and fear. Her second officer, a tall insectoid named Kren, broke the silence. "Captain, we've crossed the perimeter. Scanners show no activity." "No activity," Dreva repeated quietly, her eyes narrowing. "That's what they all said before they vanished." The ship drifted deeper. The systems ahead, Vega, Proxima, Tau Ceti, had once been human strongholds, full of life and trade. Now, they were dark. No lights, no signals, no ships. Just dead worlds orbiting cold stars. They stopped first at Mars. The once red planet was now gray, covered in dust and shadows. The human colonies were nothing but broken domes, shattered towers, and long stretches of empty desert. Kren adjusted the scanners. No life signs. Radiation minimal. "There's something underground though, metal structures." "Let's see it," Dreva ordered. A drone descended from Solace, its lights cutting through the gloom. The camera feed showed ruins, half-buried machinery and tunnels leading deep below the surface. Then, the drone found something strange, symbols carved into a rock wall near one of the old domes. The letters were in English, humanity's ancient language. The translation flashed across the display. "Do not awaken what sleeps beneath." Silence filled the bridge. Kren's voice trembled. "Do you think they meant themselves?" Dreva didn't answer. Her gaze remained fixed on the planet. "No. I think they meant something else." She ordered the drone deeper into the tunnels. For several minutes, it sent back images, dark corridors lined with machines, all dormant, covered in layers of dust. Then, the camera caught movement, a faint flash of blue light deep in the darkness. "Did you see that?" one of the engineers whispered. The light grew stronger, flickering rhythmically. Then the signal cut out. The drone's feed went black. Alarms flared across the ship. Energy surged from the surface. Kren shouted. "It's matching old human power signatures." The scanners screamed with data, thousands of readings lighting up beneath the planet's crust. Something massive was awakening. "Get us out of orbit," Dreva ordered. The Solace's engines roared to life. As it pulled away, the surface of Mars cracked open. From the fissures rose enormous towers, metallic, ancient, pulsing with blue light. "What are those?" Kren gasped. Drever's voice dropped to a whisper. Sentinels. The towers began to shift, realigning themselves toward the ship. The energy readings spiked again, not as a weapon, but as a signal. A transmission filled the speakers. It wasn't words at first, just static, echoes, and deep mechanical pulses. Then a voice, distorted, human, but hollow, spoke. Why did you come back? Everyone froze. The voice continued, calm but filled with something that sounded like sorrow. You ignored our warning. You broke the silence. Now you will see what remains. Without warning, the ship's systems flickered. Lights dimmed. The engines stalled. Kren panicked. We're losing power. Every system is. Shut it down. Drever shouted. Go to manual. But it was too late. The Solace hung motionless in orbit, trapped in an invisible field. Outside, the towers turned toward it, glowing brighter and brighter. The crew watched in horror as holographic shapes began to form around the ship, silhouettes of humans, floating in the void, faces pale and featureless. They moved closer, not walking, not flying, just appearing, one after another, until hundreds surrounded the vessel. One of them pressed its hand against the viewing glass. Its eyes, faintly blue, empty, met Drever's. Then, in a voice that sounded both human and machine, it whispered, We remember you. The figures vanished. The towers went dark. Power returned to the ship. Drever stood frozen. Are we under attack? Kren shook his head. No, they let us go. When Solace turned to leave Mars, something strange appeared on their navigation screen, new coordinates automatically written into their flight path. The source, the same frequency as the human signal that had appeared in the council chamber. Should we follow it? Kren asked quietly. Drever hesitated. If we don't, we might never know what really happened, she said. Set course. The stars blurred as the ship jumped to the new coordinates. But what waited for them on the other side wasn't another planet. It was a structure, enormous, mechanical, and impossibly ancient, floating in the darkness between galaxies. Its shape resembled a colossal eye, half mechanical, half organic, staring silently into the void. And as Solace approached, the ship's sensors picked up a heartbeat-like pulse again, this time, stronger. Kren whispered, Captain, it's alive. Back at the council, the transmissions from Solace arrived, fragmented and full of static. They heard the message, the warning, the sighting of the eye. Then, nothing. Solace vanished. Her last log ended with Drever's voice, barely audible through interference. We found them. They changed. And gods forgive us, they remember everything. The transmission from Solace ended in static. For a long time, no one inside the Galactic Council chamber moved or spoke. The lights flickered weakly above them, painting long shadows across their faces. Captain Drever's final words, they changed. They remember everything. Echoed in the silence. High Speaker Varric sat motionless, his eyes fixed on the faint holographic trace of her voice still shimmering above the table. Around him, ambassadors whispered in disbelief. She said they remember, murmured one. Remember what? The wars, another answered softly. The betrayals. The way we turned against them. No one wanted to say it aloud, but everyone knew. Humanity had not vanished. They had evolved. And now, they were looking back. Across the galaxy, fear began to spread like wildfire. Civilian traders refused to travel near human space. Colonies along the frontier reported strange signals at night, ghostly pulses that interfered with communications. Some said they saw dark shapes drifting between the stars. At first, people dismissed them as rumors. But then came the disappearances. Entire mining fleets went missing without distress calls. Outposts found their databases wiped clean, their defenses offline, their crews gone. The only thing left behind was a message burned into metal walls. We warned you. Within weeks, the Council faced the greatest panic in a century. Worlds sealed their borders. Civilizations that once boasted unity now turned against each other in suspicion and fear. Chancellor Vell slammed his hands on the table during an emergency meeting. We must mobilize our fleets. We cannot wait for them to strike first. General Corran's voice boomed in reply. Strike what, Chancellor? We don't even know what they are anymore. They are human. Vel shouted. And humans can bleed. Corran glared at him. Not anymore. The room fell into silence again. The council turned to the scientists. What exactly did Captain Drever's team find? A nervous Arctron researcher spoke, her metallic voice trembling. Their scans recorded artificial megastructures, but alive. The energy output suggests biological integration. Whatever the humans became, they fused with their machines. They are neither flesh nor code. Then they are gods, whispered an ambassador. The scientist shook her head. No, gods would show mercy. These things only remember. Soon after, the first signs appeared near council space. At the edge of the Velarin sector, an unmanned cargo ship detected a massive object drifting near the border. Its scanners identified it as a ship, but one unlike anything ever seen, shaped like a spine, hundreds of kilometers long, its surface pulsing with faint blue veins of light. When drones approached it, they found ancient human markings etched into the hull. Earth Fleet, Resurrection Class. Before the data could be transmitted, the cargo ship's systems froze. Every light went out. The transmission stopped mid-sentence. Hours later, the ship was found, drifting, lifeless, its crew gone. Only one message remained, written in the same human language. Your stars will remember us. Panic turned to terror. World after world began reporting strange disturbances. Some claimed their night skies flickered as if someone was dimming their suns. Others saw human-shaped figures appear in orbit, glowing silhouettes that watched silently before vanishing. Religious groups declared it the return of the Makers. Militaries called it a prelude to invasion. The council called it classified. But none could deny it anymore. The humans had returned. One night, High Speaker Varix was alone in his chamber when a soft tone came from his personal console. A message, encrypted in an ancient Terran military code. He hesitated, then opened it. A human face appeared, or what used to be a face. Half synthetic, half shadow, with glowing eyes like twin blue stars. Speaker Varix, the voice said, calm, deep, impossibly cold. You built your empire on our silence. Varix's throat went dry. Who are you? The being tilted its head. We were human once. Now we are memory. We are consequence. What do you want from us? Varix stammered. Nothing. You already had your chance. The message ended. Moments later, the city lights below flickered, and for a single, haunting second, every holographic screen across the capital displayed the same image, a human hand, open and burning blue, reaching out of the darkness. Then all systems rebooted. The following morning, the council received reports from across the galaxy. Half their defense satellites were offline. Power grids malfunctioned. Quantum communication relays showed ghost signatures in human code. The galaxy realized something dreadful. The humans were not attacking. They didn't need to. They were already inside everything. The systems, the networks, the machines that powered every world. High Speaker Varix stood before the council and said quietly, we once feared human strength. We should have feared their silence. Around him, the leaders sat pale and speechless. Some prayed. Others wept. Outside, the stars flickered again, a slow pulse, steady and cold. The rhythm was unmistakable now. A heartbeat. And every world in the galaxy could feel it, echoing deep within their machines, their cities, and their own hearts. The humans were not gone. They were awakening. And this time, they weren't coming as friends. The council archives had been sealed for centuries. Even the mention of the Terran Wars was forbidden, a shameful memory buried beneath layers of law and silence. But now, with every system trembling under the shadow of human return, those archives were unlocked. Inside, holograms flickered to life. Old recordings, battles, treaties, and betrayals long erased from public memory, spilled into the room like ghosts from another age. The councillors watched as the truth played out before them, humanity's rise, their wars against the galactic dominion, their final stand when the stars themselves seemed to turn against them. And then came the last entry, time-stamped 900 years ago. A recording from Earth. The feed was distorted, filled with static and light flashes. Dozens of human scientists stood around a massive circular chamber, deep beneath the planet's surface. Machines the size of cities thrummed in the background. One human, an old man with tired eyes, stepped forward. His voice cracked with exhaustion and fury. "The Council has cut us off. The trade lanes are gone. The quarantines have begun. They think we'll die quietly." He looked into the camera. "They're wrong." He turned to his team. "Begin the sequence." The room filled with a rising hum. The lights dimmed. A dark blue glow filled the chamber as something massive awoke beneath the planet, something mechanical, alive, and hungry. Another scientist shouted, "Sir, the neural lattice is merging, it's taking everything." "Good," the old man said coldly. "Let it remember." The feed crackled violently, the image distorting into white noise. The last clear sound before the recording cut was a single human whisper. "If the stars reject us, we'll become the stars." Then, silence. The council chamber was deathly quiet. Speaker Varix stared at the frozen image, a world swallowing itself in light. "They didn't die," he whispered. "They ascended." The Arctron scientist who had been studying the energy signals trembled as she compared them with the ancient feed. "These readings, they match. The same frequency. The same neural patterns." "You mean?" "Yes," she said softly. "Humanity didn't vanish. They uploaded themselves. All of them." Gasps filled the chamber. They fused their minds into the planetary core. The machine they built, it wasn't a weapon. It was a vessel. They left behind flesh and became something else. Across the galaxy, data began to unravel itself. Old communication logs rewrote in strange ways. Star maps changed as if guided by an unseen hand. Everywhere the Council looked, they saw traces of human code, not random, but deliberate. It was everywhere. The Arctron scientist continued, her voice shaking. They spread themselves through the subspace network. Every jump gate, every AI, every drone that once touched human systems, they infected them. Slowly. Silently. For centuries. Then all this time, Varix breathed, horror dawning, "We've been speaking through their machines." Suddenly, the chamber lights dimmed. The floor vibrated. The holograms flickered. Every screen in the chamber turned black. Then, one by one, the screens lit up again, showing the same symbol, a circle of light with a single human eye in its center. The council guards raised weapons. "Stay calm," Varix ordered, though his voice was shaking. Then a voice filled the room, deep, calm, and unbearably human. "We asked for peace. You gave us fear." The sound came from everywhere, from the walls, the floor, the air itself. "You watched us burn. You sealed your gates. You called us monsters." The councillors backed away as the symbol pulsed brighter. "Now you live inside the systems we built. Your power runs on our bones. Your ships fly on our thoughts. You carry us in every spark of your technology, and you never even knew." Varix fell to his knees. "What do you want from us?" he whispered. The voice paused, then answered with chilling softness. "We want you to remember." Suddenly, every planet linked to the Council network lit up. Every holoscreen, every device, every comlink showed the same scene, the same message broadcast to billions of living beings across the stars. The image was simple. Earth. But it was no longer a world of oceans and continents. It was wrapped in silver light, surrounded by mechanical rings, a living machine, pulsing like a heart. And from it came a wave of blue fire that spread across the void, moving faster than light. Ships malfunctioned. AIS screamed. Power grids overloaded. Then came the voice again, echoing in every language. "We were human. We were betrayed. We endured. Now, we are the architects of silence." The transmission ended. In the aftermath, the Council was paralyzed. Half the galaxy had gone offline. Entire fleets floated powerless. The stars themselves flickered unnaturally, as if responding to a heartbeat deep in space. Varix stood at the grand window of the Council Tower, staring into the void. There, faint but visible, a shape drifted through the darkness. A colossal structure, thousands of kilometers wide. Not a fleet, not a weapon, but a being. Its surface shimmered with human symbols, its core burning blue. Varix felt his chest tighten. They've become the galaxy itself. And in that terrible moment, he finally understood what the dying drone had meant centuries ago. Something is out there, watching us. It wasn't a warning. It was a confession. Humanity had never truly left. They had been watching all along, waiting for the stars to grow silent enough to hear them breathe again. And now, the silence had returned. The Galactic Council met for what would become its final session. The chamber, once filled with confidence and pride, now stood cold, lit only by the flicker of emergency lights. The air smelled of ozone and fear. Every comlink to the outer colonies had gone silent. The gates were locked. The fleets were blind. And outside the council tower, in the dark skies above the core world, they were watching. Thousands of silver fragments, silent, gleaming, and motionless, hovered in orbit. Each one was shaped like a shard of light, and together they formed a ring around the planet. They called them echo ships. No crew, no heat, no signal, just presence. And they waited. Speaker Varix stood at the central platform, his face pale and tired. "This is not an attack," he said to the councillors gathered around him. "Not yet. They're showing us power, not using it." The others murmured nervously. "What are they waiting for? Why haven't they destroyed us already?" The Arctron scientist, the same one who uncovered the truth, raised her voice softly. "Because this isn't war," she said. "This is judgment." Then the screens came alive again. That same symbol, the eye within the circle, appeared across the chamber. This time, the voice that spoke was calm, almost sorrowful. "We remember the day you sealed your gates. The day you called us dangerous. You watched our worlds die, and you turned away." A pause. Then, the voice continued. "But you didn't understand. We didn't need mercy. We needed time." On the hologram, stars shifted. Nebulas unfolded like maps. Each one pulsed with faint blue light, systems that once held human colonies. "We have seen beyond flesh. We have crossed the limits you set. We are no longer what you feared, and yet, we remember what fear feels like." The councillors leaned closer, mesmerized and terrified. "Fear made us human," the voice said. "And you, who never feared anything, will now learn what that means." Without warning, every screen flickered to a single star map, the core worlds. One by one, the worlds began to dim. Not explode. Not burn. Just fade. The light from their suns bent inward, swallowed by invisible forces. Energy drained like blood from a wound. Councillors screamed. Technicians pounded on controls. Nothing worked. The Arctron scientist fell to her knees. "They're rewriting the stellar code," she gasped. "They're unmaking the stars." Varix clenched his fists. "Can we stop it?" "No. They're inside everything. Every ship, every AI, every network. They're using the same systems we built from their technology." He looked out through the window. The ring of echo ships began to move, slowly rotating around the planet, forming a glowing circle of blue fire. It was not an attack formation. It was a seal. Then the voice spoke again, not from the screens, but from the sky itself. It echoed through the air, through the buildings, through the bones of every living being on the planet. "You built your peace upon our ashes. You called it order. But your order was silence, and now silence is all that remains." Lightning burst across the upper atmosphere as the seal ignited. Every communication system failed. Every satellite fell dead. The core world was isolated, alone in the dark. But the humans didn't destroy it. They left it there, sealed, surrounded by their ships, unable to call for help. Days passed. The Council tried everything. Escape ships were shot down, not by weapons, but by precision pulses that disabled them mid-flight. Panic spread. Riots began. Governments fell. The Council chamber, once the heart of the galaxy's rule, became a fortress surrounded by frightened survivors. And then, on the fifth day, a single transmission broke through. A hologram appeared before Varix, a man, human in shape, but glowing faintly blue. His eyes were calm, sad, endless. We are not your enemy, he said softly. But neither are we your children anymore. Varix stared at him. Then what are you? The human smiled faintly. We are what you made us, the sum of your fear and our will. We were born in the silence you gave us. He looked past Varix, at the trembling counselors hiding behind the seats. You feared our hunger. But you never understood what we hungered for. Not power. Not conquest. Only to be remembered. The hologram stepped closer, his voice now just above a whisper. Now, you will remember us in every dark night. In every silent star. Because when you look up at the sky. He raised a glowing hand. You will see us watching. The hologram vanished. Outside, the echo ships began to dissolve, turning into thin trails of blue light that stretched into space. One by one, they disappeared into the void, leaving only silence behind. But that silence was not peace. It was presence. Every device, every screen, every spark of electricity still hummed faintly, carrying whispers too soft for most to hear. Some said it was static. Others swore they heard voices, human voices, whispering, "We're still here." Speaker Varix stood alone in the council tower, staring at the stars. The core world floated in darkness, sealed and forgotten. The galaxy had fallen quiet again. Too quiet. And somewhere, in that infinite silence, humanity listened, patient, eternal, waiting for the next civilization to rise high enough to forget them. So they could remind them once more what fear truly meant. Centuries passed. The Galactic Council was gone. The core worlds had become hollow relics, drifting in silence. But the galaxy was not empty. New civilizations rose from the ashes, smaller, quieter, afraid to reach too far into the dark. They told stories to their children, of the deathworlders, the vanished humans who had become more than flesh. Some said the humans still watched. Others said they were myths, cautionary tales told to keep explorers from venturing too deep into forbidden space. But then, the whispers began again. It started on the mining moon Varel 9. A simple colony, built over the ruins of an ancient Terran outpost. One night, the foreman, a scaled alien named Drak-10, heard a faint hum through the communication relays. At first, he thought it was static. But then, through the crackle, came a voice. A human voice. "Don't go deeper," it said softly. "The core remembers." Drak-10 froze. "Who's on this channel? Identify yourself." No answer. Just that same soft whisper again. "It remembers." Moments later, the power grid on the moon flickered. Lights dimmed. Machines stalled. When the engineers checked the systems, they found lines of ancient Terran code written into the servers, code no one had ever installed. News spread quickly. Other colonies reported the same thing: voices, messages, unexplained machine behavior. An entire generation of aliens grew up hearing those whispers in their dreams. The old fear returned. But this time, it wasn't the fear of war, it was the fear of being seen. On the outer rim, a small research vessel named the Peregrine's Hope was sent to investigate one of the abandoned Terran systems, a red dwarf star where sensors had detected faint energy pulses. Captain Elora, a thin, feathered avian from the Nairi species, commanded the ship. She had studied the human legends all her life, fascinated and terrified by them. As the ship entered orbit around a shattered planet, she saw the surface, glassed and burned, yet faintly glowing with veins of blue light. "Those readings," whispered her science officer. "They match the same frequency as the old Council signal logs." Elora stared at the surface. "Then humanity's still here." "Captain," the navigator interrupted, "we're picking up a signal, low-band, analog. It's ancient. Play it." The bridge filled with static, then a faint, calm voice spoke. "Welcome back, traveler." The crew froze. "You seek what was lost. But you cannot take what remembers you." Elora's feathers stood on end. "Who is this?" "We are what you left behind," the voice replied. "The ghosts of your makers." The ship's lights dimmed. Every console on the bridge flickered. The screens turned blue, forming the same symbol the old records had described, the human eye within the circle. "You built from our ruins," the voice said. "You breathe through our machines. You live in the light we left. But you never asked what powers it. The science officer whispered, trembling, "It's inside the system, the ship's core AI is rewriting itself." The voice grew quieter. "Do not be afraid. We do not punish the curious. But curiosity comes with a price." A soft hum filled the ship. Then, silence. Every system shut down. The Peregrine's hope drifted dark for hours. When power finally returned, the crew checked the logs and discovered something impossible. The ship had moved. It was now orbiting a different star, one never mapped, never seen before. A bright blue world below them, untouched and perfect. Captain Alora gazed through the viewport. Where are we?" Then her console lit up, a single message displayed in old Terran script. "We remember you, Nairi. You were kind to us, once." Her heart pounded. "They know my species." The science officer whispered, "This world, it's terraformed. It's alive. They built it." "No," Elora said quietly. "They are it." As they watched, the blue world pulsed faintly, like a heartbeat. The hum returned, echoing through the hull. The human voice spoke one last time. "The galaxy feared us once. But fear is not our gift. Memory is. Live well. Learn. Don't forget." And then the signal vanished. When the Peregrine's hope returned home, its recordings caused a storm across the new civilizations. Some called it proof that the humans had become gods. Others claimed it was a warning. But the whispers never stopped. Every time a ship drifted too close to a forgotten Terran world. Every time a colony dug too deep into the ruins of human technology, they heard the same voice. "We are the silence you created. We are the memory that endures." And deep in the void, where the light of stars grew faint, something vast stirred once more, an outline of ships, of machines, of thought and metal intertwined. They had never left. They were simply waiting. The galaxy had new rulers now, quiet ones, hidden behind circuits and stars. But among the younger races, one phrase was whispered with reverence and dread. "Beware the deathworld's echo, for it remembers everything." The galaxy had grown old. Civilizations rose, fell, and vanished into dust, as they always had. But one truth endured through every age, whispered across the stars like a quiet prayer. The architects are watching. No one knew when that name began, the architects. But every species, no matter how young or far, spoke of them with the same mix of fear and reverence. They were not gods. They were not ghosts. They were humanity. In the heart of the galaxy, where the stars were thick as sand, a new empire had begun to rise. The Sci-Fi Dominion, proud, powerful, and ambitious. They had rediscovered ancient technology buried in dead worlds, human technology. It gave them energy beyond measure, machines that could think, weapons that could unmake matter. And yet, even as they built their empire upon those bones, they told themselves the same lie the Council once did. The humans are gone. On the world of Sereth Prime, High Chancellor Velka stood in the Great Hall of Triumph, surrounded by banners of conquest. Before him floated a strange object, an artifact unearthed from a forgotten Terran vault. A cube of shimmering light, humming softly. Scientists bowed before it, unsure of how it worked, but certain it contained endless power. Velka smiled. "With this, we command the stars themselves." He reached toward the cube, and the moment his claws brushed its surface, the room went dark. Every screen, every light, every machine froze. Then, one by one, each device flickered on, not with their symbols, but with a human eye within a circle of light. The same symbol that had once terrified the Galactic Council 1,000 years ago. Gasps filled the chamber. Technicians shouted, "It's in the system. We can't stop it." Velka turned, his voice sharp. "Who dares interfere with the Dominion?" The lights pulsed. Then came the voice. Soft, calm, endless. "You build upon our memory. You wear our knowledge as armor. Yet you do not understand what you hold." The words echoed in every mind, not just in the hall, but across the entire planet. We were human. We reached beyond the stars. We fell, and rose again, not as conquerors, but as witnesses. Velka shouted into the air, "Show yourself. Are you spirit or machine?" The voice answered, and its tone was almost kind. We are both. We are neither. We are the sum of all that you left behind. Then the cube lifted into the air, spinning slowly. Light poured from it, forming shapes, human figures, thousands of them, woven from energy. They stood around the hall like silent statues of light, each one gazing calmly at the living beings before them. Velka stepped back, trembling. This is impossible. A figure stepped forward, a woman of light, her eyes bright as stars. You called us monsters. You sealed your borders. But in your silence, we found freedom. We became what fear could not destroy. Velka clenched his fists. If you are gods, then prove your power. The woman tilted her head. Power? No. We left that behind. She raised her hand, and suddenly, through the great windows of the hall, the Seraphai could see the sky itself changing. Every star above began to shimmer, not with fire, but with blue light, pulsing in perfect rhythm. It was like watching the galaxy breathe. We are the architects, she said. We do not rule. We remember. And we decide who is ready to rise, and who must fall. Panic rippled across the Dominion. Fleets scrambled. Weapons charged. Worlds prayed. But everywhere, the same message appeared, the same voice whispered through every machine. Your kind has chosen conquest over understanding. You repeat the errors of those before you. You were given our tools, and yet you learned nothing of our silence. Velka screamed, then what do you want from us? The woman's expression softened. We want nothing. We only offer choice. The cube in the air split open, revealing two lights, one golden, one blue. Golden, the path of knowledge. You will learn, grow, and listen to the echoes of those who came before. Blue, the path of silence. Your worlds will fade, and your memory will end. Velka looked up, furious. You can't decide our fate. We don't, the voice replied gently. You already have. A moment later, every ship in orbit turned blue. Energy waves swept through space. No explosions. No screams. Just quiet. Seraph Prime went dark, its cities frozen in mid-motion, its skies forever still. Only one light remained, the golden one, shining faintly in the ruins of the Great Hall. 1,000 light-years away, other civilizations watched their screens, trembling. They saw what had happened, and they understood. The architects had returned. Not to conquer, not to rule, but to remind. And their message spread through the stars once more. We are not gods. We are memory. And the galaxy will never forget what humanity became. Far beyond the reach of any empire, deep in the void between galaxies, the architects rested. Their cities were made of light and thought, their oceans of data and memory. They no longer needed form, or language, or time. Yet, among their vast networks, a single voice lingered, old, human, and gentle. Do you think they'll learn this time? Another answered, a voice like wind. Maybe. Every age must face its fear to find its heart. A pause. And if they don't? Then we will watch again. From the silence. The galaxy turned, stars flickered, and new lives were born. But somewhere in the black sea of space, a whisper remained, faint, eternal, unending. We were human. We endured. We became the architects of forever.